one region that has a ministry, but without a result.
Like I said earlier, we just need a presidential coordinated approach of all these issues. So much, for example, the budget of the Ministry of Niger Delta, I think the last time I checked was about 26 billion, okay? But the budget of the NDDC, I think was above 400, 500, if not about 800 billion. That's what I saw.
Oh, the ministry is 26.
Yeah.
Then the branch of the ministry is
that's where it is wrong. Okay. You understand? The NDDC is a commission and not really a branch of the ministry. Okay. Before now, don't forget that the NDDC was supervised by the secretary to the government of the federation directly. Yes. Okay, so all of this has to do with political will and politics around. But you see, I don't want us to spend time talking about what had happened before
I'm
coming.
You will not ask them to investigate all the stories that...
If you let me learn.
Okay.
You let me learn. I don't want us to spend time talking about what had happened before without a view of what is going to happen now.
Okay.
Because the development that we need is now. Why the agencies responsible for asking the questions about what had happened before do their job? That's not my job. My interest, our interest, is for that needed development to kick in. And not only for that development to kick in, we need to recalibrate these organizations from the presidency to the extent that, number one, if NDDC is constructing a road, what kind of road is it constructing? By the grace of God, we need to now begin to encourage the NDDC from moving away from petty projects to mega projects. And I think the current MD understands that. And in constructing these mega projects, we need to also begin to ask questions like, what are the components that will be in this project, such as this kind of skills that will be needed, the kind of materials that will be needed, because organizations such as the Amnesty Program and other related programs will now have to not just do training in vacuum. You have to train in relevant area, relevant to the development of the Niger Delta, so that at the end of the training, you don't train to feed unemployment. You train to feed opportunities that are also available, so that wealth and capital remains in the Niger Delta, in the region, because that is what brings about the peace that we all request for. And let me not also say this. I don't want to come here and claim like we are saints. I heard Liboros talked about peace returning. You see, when you study development very well all over the world, you see that real development anywhere in the world is actually a product of the attitudes, beliefs, and values of the people. So leaders like him and other leaders, and even using platforms like this, we need to begin to propose a value reorientation. The desire for work and the appreciation of work. That has to return to the, and all forms of violence should be shunned so that the private sector can come. Because you see, without the private sector, you can't have meaningful development anywhere. Development is not caused only by government. So the NDDC, the Ministry of Niger Delta, is important because every kobo added to the development of the Niger Delta is important. But it is not as important as the coordination of these other structures of government, because you also need that environment for the people to take advantage of the littoral advantages, like our seas, our oceans, and our stuffs. Then another thing you also need to talk about, the president, I appeal to him. I don't know how to lobby him best. He needs to also begin to attend to how the people of the Niger Delta will begin to have communal ownership of the oil that is being explored and exploited from their region.
But have you read the documents in the PIB?
In the PIB?
Yes.
You mean the community component of the PIB?
The PIA, not PIB.
The PIA, yes.
Yeah.
I've seen a bit of that,
okay.
But, you know, the next question we will need to ask, is he being affected? You see, like I said, we need to move forward, okay? We need to move forward. So my interest is how effective, okay, are the letters in that document?
In the PIA.
In the PIA.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to, how effective are they? You understand? Because when we get that document effective and the communities are involved, they can feel the development. You know, you come to the Niger Delta, you see a community without water and light And just across them, they are seeing a whole lot of development. You know,
across
it doesn't. You know, just the direct opposite. And tomorrow you begin to talk about people with bus pipeline and no bus pipeline. I'm not trying to excuse. So we need to involve more so that the communities, when they have a part of it, okay, they can say, this one our own. You don't need to even pay them to protect it. Because number one, if a dollar of crude oil is selling for about $70 per barrel as we speak to today, if a community is aware by the structures that the federal government will put in place that as that crude oil is going through that by that, for every $70, the communities that they have even $1 or $2, they won't let you come and break it. So, you know, this attitude that the federal government, thank you for giving surveillance contracts to some people in the Niger Delta to protect pipelines. But you see, let me mildly say, that in itself is not the best of it. It's like telling us, the Niger Delta people, to be guards or securities over the pipeline. Where the pipeline, they carry the crude, they go. Are they not supposed to be part owners of that pipeline? So thank you that you have given this surveillance contract, but we need to step it forward by having this structural, however, this structural approach where communities will be parts of this whole process. However, this cannot be done. I repeat, this cannot be done, and this will not be done exclusively by the federal government. There has to be community participation, local government participation, the state participation, and the federal government all coming together to cause it. And that is where I will now say, yes, the federal government needs to also understand, as it is now, it is an APC government. Some states or most states in the Niger Delta are PDP governments. But I'm happy that the president had talked about a unity government where everybody will come together. So in giving out briefs and instructions to the different stakeholders that will coordinate these things to bring about a more peaceful Niger Delta, they need to also know that when you go down to the Niger Delta, as we speak today, the governor of Bayelsa State is PDP. Akwa Ibom is PDP. Rivers is PDP. And so you need to drop that partisanship and have hands in gloves together with everybody and work it. Because at the end of the day, President Tinubu must understand that the last election showed that a party will win a particular position for, let's say, House of Reps, and lose it for presidency.
Yes.
And win again for so
that's what Nigeria is going
so Nigerians are getting conscious. So if he is able to deliver on these lines, it will be more appreciated even by the people of the Niger Delta.
All right.
So I am saying this for the sake of development and not for the sake of politics. So I beg the president, and I also beg the Niger Deltans, that this is not the time to fight. This is the time to make friends. This is the time to lobby. This is the time to negotiate. This is the time to give people what you have to get the much of what you want.
Looking forward, the Tinubu government needs to concentrate on that region.
Yeah, one of the ways I'm appealing to him to concentrate on the region is the overbearing pressure on the NDDC.
Okay.
Yeah, I know the current MD is doing his best, but you know that overbearing Abuja pressure on NDDC coming to take jobs from the NDDC or making the NDDC to make payments, okay, that may not really be of the interest of the region. The president needs to weigh in, like interference. So the president by himself and the presidency needs to empower the management board, probably with a plan, systematically subject to review, so that their actions are taken in the interest of the Niger Delta and not for some so-called Abuja people. Okay. Because these pressures are real.
So how do we get the young ones, the youths and the young citizens, the young people from the Niger Delta region who have decided to either go for DEVE,
that's not true. It's not true.
Some of them are doing it.
Sorry, it's a wrong representation that the youths just want to go for DEVE. That's why earlier on I talked about in the development process of the Niger Delta, as you are rolling in projects, you have to train people to fit into relevant skills. Okay? We have about 41%, about 40% unemployment rate in the country.
In the region, in
the country. So the Niger Delta can't be exclusive of that menace. So, but in going forward, while the activities are going on in the Niger Delta, we have to train people not for what used to be useful yesterday, but what is useful now
today
and
in
tomorrow.
the future. So
then you also talked about, we also talked about the security of oil assets, which is pipeline security. What I will also appeal to the president is, yes, thank you that they have given our people the contracts to secure these things and all, but we must go beyond that and involve our people in the process. And our people must also be ready to follow the due process
All
at
right.
arriving this. Then you talked about
the time.
3%. I mean, 10% of, I don't know where you got that 10%. I think the PIA was about a paltry 3%, which we protested for.
3%.
So 3%, 1, 2, 3. So if the president after all, the Senate president is a Niger Delta, if it can be upward reviewed to 5%, we will also appreciate. But whatever the review is, it should be channeled towards the development of the place. Strategic assets, not classrooms.
All right, thank
not
you so
toilets.
much.
Okay?
Thank you.
Roads,
Thank you so
inland
much.
ports, you understand? Those infrastructures that stimulates an economy.
Thank you so much.